So Nepal is getting a lot of news attention right now. We did a video on Nepal, and it has recently gone viral for a couple of different reasons. The main one is because the youth over there are rioting. Now, the first thing that I want to get correct, because Errol, you and I were hammered about this on our Nepal video.
What's that?
People were talking major trash to us because in the video, it looked like we didn't know where Nepal was, and we may have made some references, and we may have referred to the guy as Indian. So I want to make this very clear. People from Nepal do not like to be called Indians. Okay?
Oh, okay.
They don't want to be associated with India, I guess.
Are they Nepalese or something?
I think it's Nepalese, okay? So I want to read this for everybody before we even start this, okay? Nepal, we know where it is now, okay? It's a country located in South Asia, situated between two other countries, China to the north and India to the south, east, and west. So
they're basically India?
Yeah, so to the people that are talking trash to us, listen, we screwed up. We slipped up the tongue. If you go back and watch the video, it wasn't that bad of a slip up. We said the kid was from Nepal. All right, whatever.
Hey,
anyway,
geographically, I feel like we were either
close.
You're Chinese or you're Indian, right?
We were close. But you cannot call Nepalese people Chinese, apparently. That's a major sore spot. All right, do you remember this? Do you remember this kid, Skis?
Will we change the fate of this nation, or will we let it remain in shackles? King Birendra once said, even if I die, shall my country live on?
Woo! All right, so I'm not
hyping him up.
He is hyping him up. He is hyping him up. Okay, now, I'm not going to play too much of that video because right now, that's what kind of, apparently in Nepal, that's what this kid's speech kind of fueled the desire for the youth. Some people seem to think the desire and the spark, he ignited this spark in the youth of the country of Nepal. He inspired these kids to, like, I guess, revolt against the corruption, the political corruption of the government. From years and years, the government's been corrupted in Nepal. I believe they said in the past 15 years, not one Nepalian prime minister has been reelected or has stayed in office longer than a year. You know, they get in, they get their money, and they basically get out and kind of just leave the country, you know, in worse condition than they have. Well, recently, Nepal's prime minister, see, here we go. They might hammer us on this. I don't know if it's called a prime minister, but recently the ruling government in Nepal deemed that social media was dangerous, you know, and they needed to regulate it and control it. And so they kind of just shut everything down, you know, with little notice to everybody. And this is basically what sparked this crazy outrage in Nepal right now. We're going to watch a quick video about the protests that are going on. And these protests went deadly. And I'm doing this video. We're doing this video because a lot of people that watched our original videos, they were telling us that we needed to look back into this. So I went back and looked into it, and it's pretty interesting what's going on.
The majestic peak of Mount Everest is what often comes to mind when we think of Nepal, but this week the streets of the capital, Kathmandu, convulsed with violence. Our Patrick Reevell tonight reports on the simmering resentments of the country's younger citizens that bubbled to the surface.
A fury has swept over Nepal. The country's parliament ablaze earlier this week as thousands of protesters stormed it, setting it and other government buildings on fire. It's being called a Gen Z revolution after thousands of infuriated young people poured into the streets at the start of the week. The immediate spark, a government ban on social media apps, including WhatsApp and YouTube. But that ignited deeper resentment over entrenched corruption and the luxurious lifestyle of Nepal's ruling elite, all while youth unemployment remains at around 20%.
So what he means when he says that is, you know, there's heavy poverty over there in Nepal, and the people are paying their taxes. You know, they're getting taxed just like, anywhere else. They're working themselves to death. They could barely afford to put 2 meals on the table per day. In a lot of these situations, they're just struggling. It's poverty. And the higher class, the ruling class, the government officials, it's just a lot of corruption. And so those people are siphoning off of the taxpayers' money, and, no different than what we're doing here in America, I'm sure. But they're putting this money in their pockets, and they're funding their children. And so these kids are seeing the children of the wealthy, politicians. They're seeing these children. They're traveling all over the world. They're buying luxury brand things. And on top of that, they noticed. So all these people in Nepal start noticing this, and it becomes trending online in Nepal, right? I forget exactly the term they used for it, but trending to watch all of these elites' children spend extravagant amounts of money while everyone else is just basically suffering. And it's because of corruption over there, right? So this is taking off on social media over there, and it seems like that's what sparked the government to pretty much shut down all of the social media apps over there.
Their last straw was you took away their TikTok, man. That's all they had.
That's right. That's right.
Basically, right? You took away the last thing they figured they had.
Well, they shut down like a lot of different social media sites too,
This is what will happen in the U.S. if we get rid of TikTok, maybe.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. It's freaking crazy.
Right.
I'm going to play. We can continue with this video, but I'm actually going to play a different video and show just a little bit more in depth of what's going on in Nepal for all those people who have been asking us to cover this story.
In the last 15 years, Nepal has gone through 14 governments. Yes, 14, with no prime minister ever completing a 5-year term. Each one came in, stayed a year or two, filled their own pockets, and got thrown out. Year after year, promises were made, and year after year, those same promises were broken. Gen Z, the very ones now fighting and dying in the streets, have never known what a stable government even looks like. All they've ever seen is poverty that feels impossible to escape. For the last 3 decades, youth unemployment has averaged nearly 20%. Even for those lucky enough to find a job, wages are pitifully low. Barely enough to feed a family 2 meals a day, let alone pay for an education, medical care, or a safe roof over their heads. The same goes for poverty as well. Nearly 1 in 5 Nepalese still live below the poverty line, scraping by on less than $2 per day.
1 in 5. I wonder what that number is in America. We can't be 1 in 5, right? Poverty?
I don't know, man. Just in my head, I'm just like, why do you keep having children? Why is there so many people if it's this hard to live? Like, you can't feed your family yet. I'm going to have more kids.
Errol, that's like the one basic human... That's the free fun.
I guess.
Well, not free, right?
It's not.
It's the one thing, if you're a man and your life is miserable forever.
You want children?
You want a wife. No, you want a wife to share that life with. Someone who you love, a beautiful woman, or maybe not a beautiful woman. And then you two I'm going to do full birds of the bees on you right here. Then you guys come together. You become one. You mate. And babies just sometimes happen, right?
I guess they just happen.
You should know this. Sometimes babies just show up. And, it's no different than here in America. A lot of the really poor people in America have the majority of the kids, right? I wonder what, exactly that is.
The more religious and the less educated.
Right.
Have the most children.
Right. The more educated you are, the smarter you realize the world is not a safe place to raise children.
But you also spend a lot of years like, I'm going to prioritize my education and my career. And you're not having kids,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you get comfortable, right? I know a lot of people who are comfortable with their lives right now. They've built up their lives, didn't have the kids. Now their life is kind of perfect where they want it, right? Outside of the fact that they still have to work a job every day. And they don't want to destroy that peace. They see married couples. It doesn't help that married people, all your married friends will tell you, don't get married, don't have kids, right? We all see that. We're kind of veering off from the Nepal thing, but you get the point.
half of the population, more than 15 million people,
I'm gonna skip
don't have
ahead here a
reliable
little,
access to
but
nutritious
we'll watch
food.
a little more.
And Nepal is among the countries with the highest levels of chronic malnutrition in South Asia. Over a third of all Nepali children under 5 are stunted, permanently held back by a lack of proper nutrition during their crucial early years. Nearly 80% of Nepali families continued cooking over open fires, inhaling smoke that leads to severe respiratory diseases, one of the country's biggest killers. Nearly a quarter of all households lack access to safe drinking water, forcing women and children to fetch water from polluted streams or distant taps. This is why, for decades, young Nepalis have had no choice but to leave their homes and families behind and migrate in search of work. In fact,
Right. Okay. So you see kind of the plight that they're dealing with over there. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to after this, this social media thing started going out where people started to pay attention to the ruling classes, children, and following their families and seeing kind of the corruption show its ugly face online. And they're like, hey, what the hell's going on here? You guys have been taking advantage of us. I mean, it took them 14 years, I guess, to get to this point of one person going in and taking all the money and leaving and another person getting voted in. Right now we're 14 years later and they're finally, I guess they had enough. I would argue, before I play this clip, oh my God, what did I just do? I would argue that this young man had a lot to do with it. This is the same man that we watched earlier. He was also seen, I believe, at these protests, and he is still talking. Hopefully they have subtitles because he also speaks, Nepalese. Don't. Sound familiar?
Why is he not president though now? Or prime minister or whatever,
Bro. Why is he not living in Germany? Is the real question. How did he get to Nepal? I'll leave it there. I love it. We love it. Okay. Some people told us, oh, you guys are laughing at this kid. They obviously don't understand how we do this show. Right?
I'm in awe of what he's doing, to be honest.
I even went back and watched the video, and you and I were never were we laughing at that young man, right?
I mean, you can be serious and joke around, I guess. That's the way I feel. You don't have to be like very monotone about everything all the time.
I say those people that were saying that about us are bots, and they need to shut the fuck up. Play this, right? So this is after kind of the social media ban goes through and people start realizing what's going on, or maybe right before.
Spoiled children. Conveniently, right as the Nepo Kids campaign was exploding online, the government decided it was time to...
That was the trending thing. It was called Nepo Kids. It was exposing elites, rich kids, basically, I think.
Regulate social media. On August 28th, 2025, the Ministry of Communication was time to regulate the kleptocrats and their spoiled children. Conveniently, right as the Nepo Kids campaign was exploding online, the government decided it was time to regulate social media. On August 28th, 2025, the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology issued a sudden directive that all social media platforms had 7 days to register with Nepali authorities or face a shutdown. That meant opening a local office, hiring staff, appointing a grievance officer, and agreeing to hand over data under Nepali law. This wasn't a request, it was a threat. Do it in a week or disappear. Now, officials claimed this was about accountability, like stopping fake accounts, hate speech, and scams. And to be fair, they weren't entirely making that up. A Supreme Court order had indeed recently asked the government to better regulate social media after concerns about misinformation. But the timing of enforcing this and the extreme way they did it raised a lot of suspicion. Predictably, most big tech companies did not manage to register on such short notice. I mean, setting up a local office and bureaucracy in a week? That's not easy, especially if you suspect the government is hostile. Only a few complied in time, like TikTok, which had actually registered months earlier, and a few smaller apps like Viber. Everyone else, they missed the deadline. So, true to its word, the government shut them down. On September 4th, Nepal...
So, they pretty much made it really impossible for these companies who weren't on the know to keep their stuff,
regulate
active, in Nepal at this time. They gave them a week. Like the guy said, you basically would have had to set up an office, an entire business,
staff and everything
to adhere to these regulations. Yeah. So they just made it pretty much impossible. And what everybody seems to think is it was just to stomp out the uprising of people starting to notice. It's like, now we need to regulate social media because everybody's starting to notice the corruption here. And social media is the flame that just kind of spreads. Now everybody's got a phone in their hand, even over in Nepal, apparently. Everybody's got a phone in their hand. They have access to internet, so they can see these things a lot more easily than they could have, say 14 years ago or throughout those 14 years. I don't know. But so that's kind of what is going on in Nepal right now. And a lot of people, they burnt that place down. Like they were
surged forward,
going crazy,
broke through the barriers, and pushed open a gate left partially unsecured. Before security could respond, protesters were inside the parliament compound itself, and that's when all hell broke loose. The use of live rounds on unarmed protesters was something Nepal hadn't seen in years. The last time the state spilled that much blood in the streets was during the 2006 People's Movement, when King Gyanendra had seized direct rule and sent security forces to crush mass rallies demanding the return to democracy. Kathmandu went under curfew. Commanders issued shoot-on-sight orders to keep people off the roads. Police and soldiers fired into crowds. By the time the parliament was finally restored on April 24th, independent monitors counted roughly 18 people killed during those April demonstrations and about 4,300 injured. When the monarchy felt cornered, it answered with bullets. This time, government...
So that's crazy, right? They started doing all their protesting, and the government was just shooting and killing. A lot of people died here. I don't know the exact death toll as of today, but a lot of people have died over there now. And, it all kind of starts with this young man right here, a lot of people are saying, and it might end with him. It seems like Nepal has recently elected a new prime minister, which is a female. I do not know her name, but everybody in the country or in this region seems to back her. They seem to think that she's going to be a better option than what they've had in there. So now we just kind of play the waiting game. And that's kind of where we are with Nepal. People wanted us to cover that. There it is. I've covered it. I hope that we kind of did this justice, and I hope people can maybe fill in some of the gaps that we might be missing. And I know Skis didn't want to do this, but just to end this, does anybody want to say anything about Nepal? Silas, you weren't present during the time we filmed that video. Mm-hmm. Do you want to say anything about this? You probably haven't even heard anything about it till just now.
No, I probably haven't heard anything except for what we've talked about on this show. I was actually just thinking as we were closing that I think we take for granted, despite the corruption that exists in all governments, how much accountability there still is in the country that we're in now, where they really have to hide it.
Yeah.
To make sure, and they really have to, because you'll be exposed, and there are consequences for things like that. So, yeah, I mean, we could be so much worse off here. So
that's true.
Yeah, like looking at that, like imagine you were just there instead of here.
Oh yeah, and it also goes to show the power of the people in situations like this, because they have completely gotten rid of the government basically that was ruling over there, and they've established a new one basically, and it took them some days of protesting, and they did have to burn down a lot of these people's houses, their businesses, burn them down and drug people out in the streets and beat them. That's where they went with this.
And what's interesting about this, again, I think this goes back to another issue. What I'm about to say is that the people that aren't pro Second Amendment don't understand that there are places like this exist and governments like that exist.
Yeah.
And the naivete it takes to assume that that could never be here and we would have no need to defend ourselves. The government there was just shooting their own citizens.
Yeah.
They just went out and shot into crowds.
Right.
And you don't think it's important for us to have any means of self-defense. You think that's a danger.
Yeah, the guns are there to protect us from our government.
That's why. So that's just another thing I wanted to point out, because if those citizens had been armed and in unity like that, would have been very different for them to try and assault them like that. There would have been a lot of dead soldiers too.
Yeah. And I don't know what the gun laws are over in Nepal, but I'm assuming
they're too poor to access a lot of those things too.
On top of, and heavily regulated,
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Much like Canada. I don't know. What a shame. Skis?
Well, you said that they said we were making fun of this kid, and
Oh, yeah.
so I'll bring up. I honestly not making I give him props for doing what he's doing, man, and rising up with the people. I make fun at the stuff like how it comes off, but in all seriousness,
what he's saying is
it's awesome that somebody that young is that driven, to be honest.
Yeah,
but it's hard not to notice the similarities in delivery.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, to a certain someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to have people like that also. It's good that he's that young and he's not just on his phone and some dumb kid that doesn't give a damn,
Right.
So.
And you and I, if you go back and watch that video, the original video that we did, not this short clip I'm going to play, but the actual video, and I will link that actually up during the time we're playing this video. I'll keep linking that video up here. It'll show up. You guys, if you go back and watch the actual video, you'll see we're not making fun of that guy. I don't know how anybody could draw that conclusion. We were actually extremely supportive. We might have been a little lighthearted as we were watching it, because this was back at the time we did that video. Nepal, nothing was going on in Nepal except this kid, and it was just really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
But we definitely weren't. People just need to shut up and get a little get a sense of humor, right? We're gonna play this video though. It's you and me, buddy.
Uh-oh.
King Birendra once said, "Even if I die, shall my country live on."
Maybe that's what he's going for.
Youths, carry these words in your heart and engrave
Keeping people
a
awake.
monument of change in the course of history.
Son, I got goosebumps.
Nepal is ours, and its future is in our hands.
Can you imagine that's how our president was?
Bro,
Would you be amped up? You'd be like, woo, let's go, USA.
I'm ready for that guy to be the United States president.
That's a good one.
It was weird hearing your voice because I kept looking at you thinking you were actually talking, but it was the video. So this video, we got 10,000 likes on it. And so I've been going back because these keep showing up, I run this page for us and they show up, I get notifications when people are posting. Yeah. And also this video I had this exact video on our TikTok account and it got banned. TikTok banned us for hate speech. This exact same video, I think, that we just watched.
We were hating him, I guess.
Right. So here's some of the comments that people were posting on our video. It says, "Do not kick him out of art school. Died in German, I'm assuming Germany, reincarnated in Nepal.
Oh, boy.
This era shall be mine." Bro, people.
That's funny.
Bro's ready for round 2. Yeah, everybody seems to have the same idea. This has aged so damn well. So 4 days ago, now they're talking about the revolt that's happening over in Nepal right now. He's not a dictator. He is a man who has actually spoken against the corrupt system of government. Okay, I'm a potato. I don't understand that.
I'm sure that's what they also thought about.
Bro lost campaign in Europe.
Right?
Now he will try his campaign in Asia. So.
Yeah, everybody, saying that, right? Yeah. So, it was comments like this. I don't know who this guy is, at Jazz8765. He says, "Guys, that guy have turned a revolution in Nepal. Gen Z protest toppled government." Right? So people were asking us to kind of respond to this. And they were commenting on our main video as well. Who is here after the consequences? Bro reincarnated and said, "Let me try that again." So this is pretty crazy, man.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool to see that people were responding to the video. Not all of them were bad comments, But here we go. We've done an update video on Nepal. Whatever information that you guys have that we did not cover, please drop it in the comments of this video. And let's see if we can get a little more education on what's going on over there. And if we have to, we'll do another video. Subscribe to the show. Email us at thebtgteam@gmail.com. If you have a story or something you want us to cover, send it to us. Find us on YouTube. Put it in the comments. We have Instagram, TikTok, everything else. You'll find a way to message us. And we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Peace.